His name is Frank?
Yes.
Yeah.
but we call him Frankie Boy.
Frankie Boy, okay.
Frankie Boy.
How the hell did Diane get in Brussels that fast?
I've been working on it. And I might speak a little bit in French to them just because I love to when I get a chance. And I probably will be talking about you, but it'll be all good stuff.
Okay.
One thing that we just talked
about before. I've been talked about before, not always good, but anyhow.
One thing that I find is that all of you Newfoundlanders have an amazing sense of humor.
Come by it honestly.
No exception. And is that a Canadian thing, or is it just you guys?
No, it's pretty prevalent. We're a pretty easygoing, fun-loving bunch in Newfoundland, and we like to joke with one another. We are also occasionally, not so occasionally, the butt of not so nice jokes, but we deal with all of that in our way. But most Newfoundlanders are fairly easygoing and easy to get along with, but we always have a problem with people understanding us because we speak faster than most people, but it's mostly because the other people hear real slow, not that we speak fast.
Avec qui il est en contact du spectacle? Oui. Avec qui du spectacle? Est-ce que vous êtes en contact?
Oh, genre avec qui se identifier?
Non, avec qui lui, Dianne a été vraiment en contact. Est-ce que c'est avec Bob?
Oui, est-ce que Bob a vraiment existé?
Est-ce que c'est de personnages du spectacle?
Ah, ok.
Rencontré.
Gotcha. Yeah. Our first question is, we want to know if there was anybody from the actual show that you had met, either during the event or 10 years later, or since the show came out. Like Bob, for example. Anybody you met?
We've met many of the cast, obviously.
No. That's not a question.
Okay. Sorry. The actual people in the show.
Tell them about. Is Bob based on Tom?
Voilà, c'est ça.
Based on
Bob, the character is based on Tom McKeon from New Jersey, and Tom stayed there at the house during 9/11, along with 5 other guests. We had 6 guests staying at our modest Newfoundland bungalow, we call it. Luckily enough, we had a bar in the basement, so they could all get together in the bar. And so they called me the whiskey drinking, grill stealing, barbecue stealing mayor of Appleton.
Is that true?
And I was mayor for 24 years.
The barbecue story is true?
It's true.
The barbecue story is absolutely true. My wife Diane was volunteering. Of course, as mayor, I was running all over the place doing whatever you have to do as mayor when so many people show up. But Diane was volunteering down at the town hall while we had guests here at the house, and she called up from the town hall to get me to go and pick up some extra barbecues or grills. I think you call them barbecues or grills?
Barbecue.
Okay, barbecues. The Americans. Only the Americans call them grills. But anyhow, she asked if I could get some, and I looked around my room, and I had an Israeli couple who were under honeymoon in the house. I had 2 girls from New York who were here, and they had become friends only when they came to our house because they never knew each other before. And we had a businessman from New York and Bob, as you call him, from New Jersey, and he had asked Diane to wash his jeans because he had been on the road for so long in Ireland doing some research. So when I looked at him with my jeans on that were 2 or 3 sizes too big for him, I said, "Come with me, we're going to get some barbecues." And we went down the road in my truck, and I tell him we stop at a house right next to ours, or just a few doors down from us, and I look at him and say, "Come on, help me. We're going to get this barbecue, this grill." And he looked at me and said, "There's nobody home here." And I said, "Don't worry about it." So anyhow, we take this barbecue, and anyhow we go. I tell him we need 2 more. So we start driving along the road in Appleton, very small town, only 700 people and 300 households. So we're driving along the road, and I say, "If you see a barbecue on the patio, let me know." And anyhow, we stop at another house, and there was nobody home there. And I say to Tom, Bob, as you call him, "Come on, help me take this barbecue." And he don't get out of the truck. He looks at me real crazy like. And then he says, I said, "Well, don't worry. Nobody home. I know who they are. Don't worry." He says, "If you tried to do this in New York, you would be shot." And that's so we get the barbecues, and we have the big barbecue. We bring them back after everybody leaves and flies away. So that story is a real story, and it goes back to how things are in a small town where you know everybody and your neighbor knows you, and if you take their propane tank, they don't think it's stolen. They know that the neighbor borrowed it, and they'll probably bring it back a few days later, probably empty in most cases, but you know.
So this was common even outside of state of emergency situations, where you would just need a grill and you would go borrow it?
Oh yeah, not so much the grill. Everybody has their own grill on their patio, but the propane tank always runs out just when you think that it's going to work for the whole barbecue, and you go next door, and if they're not home, you don't knock on the door and ask them, or if they're not home, you just take it and go with it and bring it back sometime later. So that's small town Newfoundland, and it's where people they know their neighbor, they're all hospitable. And, you know, we have petty crime like every other place, but for the most part, everything is pretty friendly, and sometimes too friendly, and people are too nosy. That's
we were just talking to Oz, Fudge, and Brian, yeah, and they told us that week in Gander there had been 0 reported crimes that week. Was it the same in Appleton?
Yes. When we have a crime here of any kind, we declare a holiday because it's very rarely that it happens. Okay. But no, it's not. It's very much, you know, we have our issues, and everybody has their problems, and you know. We can't claim total virginity to everything, but we are very much rural Newfoundland or small town Newfoundland. You know, I mean, in a small town in Newfoundland, maybe 100 people, so everybody knows each other, and half of them are related. So, you know, it's more of a family feud than a racket in some of those places. So, it's a different situation. I mean, the city of St. John's, we consider it a big city. It's 150,000 people, and there's only 500,000 people in our whole province. And in many of the places that you are going to go, that would be a borough. That would be, you know, I mean, 500,000 people in New York live on one street, sort of thing. So it's a whole different scenario here than you would expect in many places. When the plain people were walking on the street here, people were coming out, they automatically knew there were strangers in town, and they were coming out and inviting them into their homes and doing this and that and the other thing, and doing whatever they could to make them welcome.
Can I ask something? We've talked to a lot of Newfoundlanders today, and I can see that you almost all have a Come From Away t-shirt or poster behind you. So, of course, you have a super special relationship with the show. And it's, by the way, maybe it's the same for all of you, but it's the first time that we have the chance and the opportunity to play real people. So it's a huge responsibility for us to respect that. What happened in your minds and in your brains first saw the show, because it was you and your story, a really intimate thing. And Dianne, you've seen the show a lot of times, right?
Yes.
Est-ce que l'émotion est toujours la même quand vous voyez ce spectacle? Est-ce que vous voyez des nouveaux détails? I mean, what's your relationship with it?
I'll let you go first, Derm.
How you first saw the show?
Well, obviously, we had met the writers on the 10th anniversary and had become very impressed with their work. We were a little concerned about how, first of all, we didn't understand how they would write a musical about 9/11, because that was thought to be a crazy idea for us, because 9/11 was such a tragedy in New York, but also in the world, because it's changed their lives forever. So that the thought of them researching for a musical didn't make much sense, but anyhow, a lot we know about that, because obviously they did a very good job. When they came to Gander in October of 16, they had gone away with their information, with their research, and we didn't hear too much about what they were doing. We knew there was something going on, and they had done some kind of a pilot project and that type of thing, and they had presented the show to a couple of small groups of people, mostly private invitations, but we didn't really know what to expect when the show came to Gander. So we went there with some concern about how they were going to present the show, present the information that they had gathered, and how it would present as a musical. So, but immediately after we got there, we didn't know what roles, if any, we would be playing, and who would be playing different parts and that type of thing, because they had interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds of people when they were here on the 10th anniversary. So that whole concept of now the premiere taking place in Gander was a bit foreign to us. We're not all theater goers, I can tell you, although I've seen the show 56 times, myself and Dianne, my wife Dianne, of course. The other Dianne has seen it many times as well, of course, as you know. But it was just the whole idea that they were going to present our story now, as opposed to the 9/11 tragic story. They were going to present our story to our people and to us, and we didn't know what to expect. But we were absolutely honored and relieved, I would say, when the show was presented, and the cast, the original cast, the Broadway cast as we call them, did such a wonderful job. It was just amazing to us. But it was being presented to Newfoundlanders, and we were a bit concerned about where it would go next. Like, it was going to Toronto, and we always say there's enough Newfoundlanders in Toronto to keep the show running for a while, and it was going to New York. So our story of what we normally do in Newfoundland when there's some kind of an emergency was being told to other people, foreign people, the people that you're going to be telling the story to, and you have been telling the story to. So, you know, it's one thing to accept and expect when it's told to us ourselves. We understood 10 years earlier what we did, or 14, 15 years earlier what we did, and we did it because it was the right thing to do. Offer somebody a bowl of soup and a sandwich and a place to lay your head when they're in trouble. That's what we do. That's what we would do tomorrow if we had to. Hope we never have to do it again. But if we had to do it, we'd do it again. Maybe not so well, but we'd do it again. That's how we initially understood and received the story. We are absolutely honored and absolutely blown away, over the moon, about how this story has evolved and how it's become a world phenomenon. it's hard to believe because with so much news today, mostly bad news, but some good news too. With all of the other news that's going on today, to know that 23 years later, almost 24 now in September, that this story is being told to people all over the world in all kinds of languages, and in a lot of cases, we'd love to be there in Brussels or wherever, but in a lot of cases, we are there at the openings of those shows, and it's amazing how the show is received by people who have other things on their mind, or they're not all theater goers either. They are people that just ordinary people like us, and they're receiving our story so well. And it's being told so beautifully by you, the actors and actresses, and the producers, and everyone that's involved. That it's hard to understand and hard to comprehend, despite the fact that we are so proud to represent all of the people that volunteered that time, and also to represent our province, Newfoundland and Labrador, which is one of the best places in the world, but also our towns and our country, Canada, which again, today, even today, it's D-Day, Juno Beach, and D-Day in Europe for to help the world get to where we are today, and it's 80 years ago. So we are over the moon, and I don't know. I could go on forever and talk about that, but that's enough. Enough said. It's such a pleasure for us to be involved in this process, and to be able to point back and talk to people like yourselves who have probably never stepped foot in Newfoundland, but hopefully after all of this, you will get a chance to do that, just that.
We have one person who went there. Yes, I have been there in 2021, actually, and I went to the Grosmorne.
Grossmorn, yes?
Yes, Grosmorne.
Grossmorn? What?
I don't even understand that. No more.
Derm, at what point did you know that you were a character? Did you know you were a character before you saw it in Gander, or had you seen it before Gander?
No, I had not seen it before Gander, and I didn't know that I was a character until I went to the show. And ironically enough, I didn't go to the first show in Gander because my sister and her husband came, and I wanted to take them to the show, and I wanted to see it for the first time with them. And when I got to the show in Gander, before the show started, of course, the media was in the lobby at the theater at the community center, and they started asking me, well, how did you like how they portrayed you? And I couldn't answer it. I said, I don't know. So anyhow, they did a pretty good job of portraying me, especially my love for a drink, and also my love for meeting people. I mean, our house is, always call our house the halfway house. Somebody is going from A to B, they drop into us to see us, but they don't necessarily call in advance. So the people that came off the planes didn't call in advance and say, we're coming. So it wasn't strange for us to invite people into our home. And we've been doing it ever since in a little program that we call Meet the Flynns. We've been doing this for 7 years. And now, and even this afternoon, when I get off this call in a half an hour, 45 minutes, we'll have people coming from another part of Canada. Yesterday, we had people from the UK. Next week, we've got people from Ireland. We've had people from Australia. And they come and they sit with us and talk like I'm talking to you about 9/11 and about what it did for us and how we handled it, and about what it has meant to us since in relation to the musical and the travel and getting to meet great people like yourselves, the cast, our come from away family, as we call them, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger as we go along, and I'm sure there'll be other family members and other casts added in the not too distant future.
We hope to make you proud.
I'm sure you will.
Combien ils ont accueilli de personnes à Appleton maintenant et comment se sont organisés parce que l'histoire de Gander, mais là sur Appleton.
So how many people exactly did you guys bring into Appleton, and also what were your first responses? How did you begin dealing with the situation? What were your first reactions to it?
Okay, we got the people when the planes landed in Gander. The first plane landed 16 hours after the first plane was deplaned. So that's the part of the story that you're telling. So that was in the middle of the it was in the middle of the night, and late in the evening, under darkness. The last plane that was deplaned, that Tom came off, Bob and those people, they came off and they arrived in our sistering town, Glenwood, is across the street, across the river, and that houses our school, Lakewood Academy, which is part of the conglomerate of Gander Academy. Of course, they picked Gander Academy for they couldn't pick every school, but so Lakewood Academy had the largest, had over 600 people. And when they dropped them off at 2:30 in the morning, that was on September the 12th, they were dropping off all those people at the school, and they had no more room. So they brought passengers from 2 planes at 2:30 in the morning to Appleton, to our town hall, and there was about 90 people from 16 different nationalities, because they were on 2 different planes, and that made more people from different countries. And they brought Tom, Bob, and they brought other people, George Vitale. Some of you might have read the book, The Day the World Came to Town. If you read that book, you would see references to those people. So we had a unique opportunity in the sense that we had a small group of people. I know with Dianne and her group at Gander Academy and the other school gymnasiums, you were getting hundreds of people coming at you all at one time. We had the unique opportunity to get to personally meet most of those people. We sent them out to our homes, and we talked to them about their families. We could do personal contact with them. So it was so much more, I guess, so much more intimate, I'll call it that, if that's the right word to use, because it was a small group. So we prepared by bringing food and bringing blankets and bringing mattresses and blow-up mattresses and pillows and clothing and lots of food. Everyone was making food, and
tell them how you ended up with 6 guests.
Okay. So in the morning, they all go to the hall, and when they get to the town hall, they go, and the ones that were not too tired, they're given coffee, they're given lots of goodies and lots of desserts and everything like that at 2 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of them are still very hungry because they had been on the plane so long. But many of them were very, very tired. But they got in front of the TV, and for the very first time, they got to see what was going on in New York and at the Pentagon in Washington, and where a plane had landed, had been brought down by the passengers in the field. So that was their first exposure to the tragedy of 9/11. And men and women were weeping, and our volunteers, Dianne included, and the dozens and dozens of volunteers that always come out in a small town to help, were there, and we become grief counselors and everything else. We were giving them a hug. Everybody was getting a hug, whether you wanted it or not. That's the Newfoundland way. I mean, most people put out your hand to welcome you, but in Newfoundland, if you unless you hold up and say hold it, you're going to get a hug before you get anything. Before you get anything, you get a hug. But the 6 people that came to our house in the morning, people started coming to the town hall. The radio station and TV station were saying, "Bring food, do this, do that, do the other thing." So everybody get up in the morning, and most of our people work in Gander, sort of going to work at the hospital in Gander, going back to the airport, or going to different places, or going to their businesses, because everything in Gander is going crazy because there's 3,000 people in there, and they're coming to the hall, and they're looking in the door, and they see people sleeping on the floor, and they say to me as mayor, they say, "Mayor, what are you doing with people sleeping on the floor? We've got a bedroom down at our house. We got 2 rooms at our house. My brother's in the town. His whole house is up there." And, you know, it's sort of that whole thing. And I start saying, okay, well, this lady here with your 2 kids, you go with this person. This fellow here with his wife, you go with this person. And I'm sending people out the door to go to the homes. And they're going to the homes, but the people, I told you, are on their way to work to Gander. They are taking people to their homes to say, "There's the bedroom, there's the fridge, there's the telephone, there's the TV. Look after yourself. We'll be home 4 o'clock. We'll have a meal." But anyhow, so the people are saying, "You are not going to leave us strangers in your home." And we say, "Yes, you're okay. Fine." Some of them, we tell some of them, there's a car in the driveway, so take the car and drive into Gander, to Walmart or whatever. And they are saying, "You're not going to give us the keys to your car." And we say to them, "Well, you're on an island here. We'll find you if you steal the car." But anyhow, Dianne is busy volunteering in the kitchen, and I'm busy doing my mayor's duties, running around all over the place. And I invite 3 people back to the house. Just grab 3 people and say, "You guys, come up to my place." We had already opened our home for showers, and people were coming for showers. But anyhow, I invited 3 people. I didn't know, and I wasn't talking to Dianne at the time. Maybe we were having a row or something. I don't know. She was busy and I was busy. So she invited 3 people as well. We arrived in the driveway. We had 6 people. So we put the people in, brought them in, and we gave the best bedroom to the Israeli couple who were on their honeymoon. We gave the 2 boys a blow-up mattress and a couch downstairs in our bar. And the 2 girls, Dianne put them on a pull-out couch, not even knowing that they didn't know each other. But they said that's okay. And that's how we got 6 people at the house. So every time we got up to leave, they wanted to come with me. And I used to say, "No, go back and stay in the house and do what you want to do." And I'd go, and Dianne would go down and cook and whatever at the town hall. So it was a sort of unique situation where we ended up with 6 people that we didn't really, we weren't really geared up for, we weren't set up for it, but anyhow, it worked out very fine. And they have, Tom especially, and some of the other people have become great friends forever, and we talk on a regular basis. So it's, but a really funny story happened, because we had the house, and Lakewood Academy, the school, had so many people that it was just crazy over there. And some of our volunteers in Appleton were over there volunteering as well. Anyhow, we had 3 Irishmen showed up at the house, and they came for a shower from the school. So I looked at them, and as it happens, there was a German lady, a German reporter, Beatrice Luger, her name was, and we become good friends. Beatrice was in the shower because she had her running shoes. She always carried her running shoes, even though her luggage was still in the plane. She had her running shoes, so she ran every day, and she came to our house for a shower. So she was in the shower, and the 3 Irishmen showed up, and they said they were coming for a shower. So I said, mistakenly, I said to them, well, the boys are downstairs, Tom and those fellows are downstairs. Why don't you go downstairs and you might find a little Irish whiskey in the bar. So they go downstairs and they have a drink of Irish whiskey and they come up and I say, the shower's open now. So one of these guys, and they say, wink at me, and they say like this, we'll come back later for a shower. And they came back later and they went downstairs, right downstairs, have another drink of whiskey, off they go again. They never did get their shower, but they went on the inside from the Irish whiskey that they were drinking. So there's so many stories, and I know that you people have heard many. There's a million stories in the whole thing. Some of them will never get told. Some of them should never get told.
Thank you. I know that you have an appointment in a few minutes, so I promise to don't do it too long, so maybe we can thank you.
Thank you so much.
Again, time.
Thank you.
Dianne is here. I'm going to get you to see you. At least say hello to Dianne.
Hey, hi. So this is.
I'm the one trying to keep him on the straight and narrow.
You're doing a good job.
Oh, job.
I can hear you in the background reminding him what the question actually was. That's right. You're very good at that. She should be doing it for me too.
It's it's interesting because and they always ask Dianne, did you get a role, or how come you didn't get a role in the production? And they said, well, it was already 2 Dianes, I think, and then to add another Dianne would probably make it very, very confusing. But anyhow, she does get a role, and the role is, what is it? What is the role that the mention? She gets the honorable mention by saying, and the mayor's wife said something, whatever.
And the mayor's wife showed me to my bedroom.
Yes. and for your information, Tom, who was very nervous about his wallet, he don't know it yet, but I managed to get American $100 bill out of his wallet, and 24 years later, he still don't know that I stole some money from his wallet. But it's such a pleasure. Break a leg with the production.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dianne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dianne.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.